Hi, Sunnis. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. So it's been a lot going on. I decided not to bring this here, but I mean, like it's been back and forth. A lot of people and some black people are not finding it funny because it's always like each time a black person, or especially black women, do something when it comes to their art, music, and all that, they always find something to talk about it. I do not have problem with people criticizing, but when there are some criticism people will do, you know that it is no longer, them criticizing the song, that there is something beyond it, right? So she talked about how her work, all her art is propaganda. And I am asking, how is that even propaganda? Because I need to know, because it looks like she is mixing up, like being patriotic to nationalism and all that. And some people were like, what is misleading about Beyonce's music as opposed to providing the missing historical context? All art is not propaganda based on your definition. And she really did miss it. Now, one thing I have learned to understand about these people is that when some people talk about a certain kind of people, right? When you go to their comment section, you definitely will understand who they stand for. And that is something I don't even want to go into. But you know what? We are going to get into this video together and let me know what you all think. So straight up, let's get into it.
Beyonce creates propaganda, and to a certain extent, that is okay, before you come at me with your fucking pitchforks, but let's talk about it. First of all, let's talk about what propaganda is. Propaganda is a form of communication meant to influence a group of people around a political agenda. I don't know what Beyonce music y'all are listening to, but to me, it is very clear that since her self-titled album, her music has a political agenda. Songs like Pretty Hurts and Flawless, to me, are very obviously feminist propaganda. Songs like Formation and Freedom, to me, are very obviously pro-black propaganda. To me, Cowboy Carter as an album is black liberal propaganda, and I don't necessarily think that that is a bad thing. But I don't think anyone is going to sit here and debate me about the fact that there was a clear political message in those lyrics. Based on every definition of propaganda that I have seen, that automatically makes that music propaganda. But it also means that that music can be used by others for the purposes of propaganda. So let's talk about this most recent performance of Cowboy Carter during a football halftime show. And shout out to Hot Damn Historian that I think put out a really nuanced analysis of how this performance and its messaging are different than the album and its messaging. Like, the album on its own very much is a critique of how American history is told. I gathered that. I listened to the album too, y'all. But how she chose to perform that album with that imagery in that venue had a slightly different political message. It had an undertone of nationalism that I think it's really important that we pick up on, especially in the times that we are living in right now. And this is further evidenced by the fact that there were people who, after watching that performance, said that they felt proud to be an American in a way that they normally don't, because they normally feel like that pride is only reserved for white people. And now Beyonce has made them feel like they have their own piece of America, their own piece of history to be proud of. And there are ways in which I don't necessarily think that that is a bad thing, and there are ways in which I don't think it's a good thing either. Beyonce chose to use the red, white, and blue stars and stripes imagery for this project. She didn't have to. There are other flags, there are other images that represent Black Americans and Black American history, but that's not the creative decision that she made. As someone who has been a fan of Beyonce my entire life, one of the biggest critiques I have of her is that she is someone who puts out incredibly political music and then allows that music to be used for propaganda in ways that I don't agree with. And I think that this performance is a great example of that. Another great example of that, I think, is the fact that she allowed the Renaissance film to be streamed in Israel. during an ongoing genocide. And it's funny that so many people were like, well, you didn't listen to American Requiem. You didn't get it. You didn't get it. I did get it. And part of why that song actually turned me off from the very beginning is because a core message of the song is that people should stand for something. And when she put that song out, she was not standing for something. Similarly, Beyonce's song Freedom speaks to Black liberation. Beyonce allowed Kamala Harris to use that song as her walkout music, which is propaganda. And yet, Kamala Harris was actively involved in the oppression of Black people, in the incarceration of Black people, in the further enslavement of Black people. Now, do I think Beyonce needs to be canceled because she's an evil propagandist working to brainwash all of us? No. And I never fucking said that. I just said that she's a propagandist, and a damn good one at that, because I've been eating her music up my entire life. Beyonce is not a billionaire because she just works really hard, and it is actually so scary to me that y'all seem to believe that. Beyonce is a billionaire because she owns multiple businesses that exploit their workers. Beyonce is a billionaire because she uses exploitative, unethical practices to accumulate wealth. I saw a video where this woman was trying to argue that Beyonce is closer to a Starbucks barista than an actual billionaire that would cause harm. And no, she is not! She is an actual billionaire whose financial practices cause actual harm. And we can acknowledge that and still enjoy her art. She is not a deity. We're allowed to critique her, and she will be just fine even if we do. Salvador Dali is my favorite painter, despite the fact that he was a bit of a fascist, because his art was that culturally impactful. His art had that much of an impact on me that I don't really care that he was a bit of a fascist. Just like, I don't really care that Beyonce is a billionaire. Like, I do. I don't want her to be, which is why I critique her. But that's not something that's going to stop me from enjoying her music. It's just something that I will include in my critique of that music. But I really, really need y'all to understand that there is no amount of hard work that you or anyone else could do to accumulate the amount of wealth that Beyonce currently has. And I also need y'all to understand that it is a choice that Beyonce is making to accumulate that much wealth in the ways that she has chosen to accumulate it. She is not a pawn in the system like the rest of us. She has real agency and real power due to her wealth, due to her success, that you and I will never have.
Not to be that person opening this Beyonce conversation up to a larger conversation, but I think a larger conversation is due here. But high key, this is highlighting one of the largest problems that people on the left have, and it's this inability to allow people to experience joy and to enjoy things. Not only does it feel, and I'm just speaking on how it feels, not only does it feel like you're not allowed to like stuff, like there's a criticism for every little thing. Like even like when we were celebrating that Luigi pew pewed, the CEO really got some shit done, no shade, allegedly. Like there were people saying like, oh, like how can you do it this way when you should be saying this and this, that. It's just like y'all, a lot of people who consider themselves to be leftists are just never fucking satisfied. For this to be the side of the whole thing that is supposedly so caring about community, y'all truly do not know how to engage people or galvanize people, educate people, move people at all. And I'm saying this as someone who recognized that they were contributing to this problem, took a step back and I'm currently still trying to revamp my method in how I approach people and talk about topics, because it's not fucking working. Leftists are going to continue to lose the race if they don't know how to pick and choose their battles. No shade. Even when it comes to Beyonce, for example, she's talking about how the United States is literally rooted in racism. This is a perfect opportunity for us to pivot and point at the people who she's talking about. No, we're going to point at her though. It's not, do you see how you lose all of the people who could potentially be on your side? I just don't get y'all sometimes.
So I follow Hannah because of political content. And recently their account has been in some controversy because they called Beyonce a propagandist. But specifically, I want to defend their video because I thought they were calling the performance at the football game. I don't know which football game it was, okay, but it was some football game. They're calling that performance propaganda. They're not calling all of her music pro-America propaganda. And the way I'm going to defend that video is by stating very clearly that the album Cowboy Carter, which I have a vinyl of up there, okay? I have all of Beyonce on vinyl, okay? The album Cowboy Carter is not pro-America propaganda. And that is not what Hannah was saying. Okay, they were not saying the album is pro-America propaganda. They were saying that the way that she performed, at least from my understanding of the video, the way she performed at the football game was very pro-America, right? Not because it was intentional propaganda, but because that's generally the vibe that you're going to get at a football game with those kinds of visuals, with those kinds of songs, especially if you're playing Levi's Jeans, because I didn't watch the whole performance, but I've seen clips on TikTok. And from what I understand, when you choose certain songs from Cowboy Carter, it's going to come off as very raw America. And then you add the visuals that Beyonce had at the football game, it's going to come off very pro-America. But the album itself, Cowboy Carter, is literally not pro-America propaganda. It is literally pro-African American, not propaganda, pro-African American history. Okay, it is trying to basically write a journal article or a whole dissertation on the value of Black art, on the whole history of American music, on Americana, right? It's basically making the argument, Beyonce is making the argument that every single genre that is now associated with American is rooted in Black culture. This is very 101 level, like, literary studies, in my opinion, right? You listen to the song Blackbird, specifically Beyonce's cover of Blackbird. You look up the history of the song Blackbird and why it was written. You understand that Beyonce chose specific artists, up-and-coming country artists to sing the song with her. You understand, okay, that's why she chose that song, right? That's why she chose to cover that song. You think of Jolene that she covered. You think of the Willie Nelson interlude and the interlude with Dolly, right? You understand that the goal is to reveal the Black influence on all genres of American music and then to turn on its head. The point is to emphasize that America has let down Black people in so many ways, in so many violent ways. And the final way that it has let down Black Americans is to take and take and take from their culture, right? However, that does not diminish from the point that Beyonce, by being Beyonce and by performing at that football game and by using the visuals that she does, unwittingly plays into a certain idea about what America can be. And that idea of what America can be is based on this false notion of meritocracy, capitalism being good, and specifically that, racism is not institutional, but individual, right? And Beyonce is not doing this on purpose, specifically the performance at the football game. She didn't do that on purpose, in my opinion. She didn't seek out to go, okay, I'm going to make a political statement that America is amazing by performing this way at the football game. No, unfortunately, that performance plays into this idea that what Beyonce does and the images Beyonce produces of America by playing at the football game is the best of America. And so unfortunately, when Beyonce performs at a football game, you are going to take the meat of the true dissertation, the true argument of Beyonce's Cowboy Carter out of Cowboy Carter. And you can disagree with me if you want to, but Cowboy Carter is not pro-America propaganda, the album, but sometimes when Beyonce is performing, even though the performance is beautiful, ethereal, amazing, and specifically, when Beyonce is going to be performing in like public places that are political, because every public place is political, you're going to get an unwitting political message. And the political message that is propagandistic from Beyonce's performance at that football game is America's not half bad, right? And it's the same thing when Beyonce endorsed Kamala Harris, right? Beyonce did not have to sing on stage for the political message of the song Freedom to change, right? The initial political message of the song Freedom, very different from the political message of the song Freedom that emerged because Kamala Harris used the song for her campaign. I feel like when people say literacy is going downhill, this is what they mean. Because I saw no problem with Hannah's original video, and I see no problem with people like Shaheem and other people specifically saying, listen, Beyonce and Cowboy Carter are not propaganda. To say literacy is going downhill, this is what they mean. Because I saw no problem with Hannah's original video, and I see no problem with people like Shaheem and other people specifically saying, listen, Beyonce and Cowboy Carter are not propaganda to defend America. Right? Beyonce, the idea. Beyonce, the person, the artist, is not creating pro-America propaganda intentionally, especially with Cowboy Carter. Those two things are very different, in my opinion, right? Hannah's original video, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I apologize. The original video makes complete sense when you think of the context in which she was talking about. And she was literally only talking about that performance. And the defenses of Beyonce from people who are Black are very, very valid, because they are not making a defense of Beyonce the billionaire. They are making a clear argument about Beyonce the artist making a specific album called Cowboy Carter, right? Two things can be true at once. And I'm going to tag both the creators I'm talking about in my caption. And if they disagree with me, I'm so sorry. But I just think Beyonce the billionaire, very different from Beyonce the artist. And I understand that those are intertwined, especially in the 21st century when it comes to capitalism and how we consume art. I understand that those are entwined. But in this specific conversation about political messaging and political messages, it's very different to talk about a performance that Beyonce did at a football game or a political endorsement that Beyonce made, and the political messaging, some of Beyonce's songs may take on versus the initial intent and political message of an album. And I think very basic literacy makes you understand that Cowboy Carter is not pro-America. Cowboy Carter, like many artists who are Black in America, is explicitly pro-Black, right? Like Doechii, she is not making Harriet Tubman music, which is the most racist fucking shit I've ever heard. I don't know who initially said that. That just seemed very racist to me. But Doechii is specifically, and she made a statement on this on Twitter, Doechii is specifically using all of hip hop when she produces her music, when she makes her music. Like, she is really going back to the root of hip hop. And I'm not even an expert in hip hop and rap, and I know that, right? So I need people to have multiple thoughts in their head at once. And I need people to watch more than the first 10 seconds of a video before you respond with your hot take, because multiple things can be true, right? Unfortunately, Beyonce is worth millions upon millions of dollars. And so her performing anything, anywhere is going to have an unintentional effect. And the effect of Beyonce performing at a football game, I'm sorry, it's going to produce some very pro-America vibes. Okay, I'm not saying it was intentional. I don't know if I agree that it's an intentional pro-America message, but just because Cowboy Carter and most of Beyonce's music is definitely not pro-America nationalist bullshit, right? No one is saying that it is, doesn't mean that Beyonce performing or making political endorsements doesn't produce some kind of buy-in for the people who are listening or watching into the American project. I'm not saying it's intentional from Beyonce, but that's just what happens when you perform at a football game. Let's be honest here. So I follow Hannah because they are calling all of her music pro-America propaganda. And the way,
I'm not gonna play with y'all. I'm not gonna pussyfoot around blackness. I stand on it, and I see you. I know exactly who you are, and I want to make sure my people see you for who you are too. You're one of those POCs. Yes, you are one of those people of color that likes to come into the black camp talking that solidarity shit. But you want it at your convenience and on your demand, expecting a speedy return on every exchange. Yes, I know exactly who you are. You are one of those POCs that comes with your own agenda. And for the last year, you and them two blackish cats that you tagged in your video, you three have spent the last year trying to convince Black America to divest in Black America because you don't want us to claim ownership and identity over who we are and where we come from. If we do that, we can't be your foot soldiers. We can't march in your movement because in your movement there is no plan for our liberation. You know it. We know it too. Don't try to be cute. Stop trying to mask this shit for something other than it is. Stop it. You don't get it because she's not talking to you. You are that POC that can have shittier credit than me, make less money than me, and we both apply for the same house and you'll get the house before I will. Why? Simply because I'm black in America and you are not. And there are some of us out here, black people in America, black Americans, that have learned how to navigate this oppressive white supremacy society because, believe it or not, fuck what you heard, black Americans, we have a right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness too. That same shit you're marching for in your movement, we have a right to. But if we're working toward our right, we can't march for you. So you want to take the things that we create and give them to our oppressors. No, thank you. No, thank you. You and these blackish people, your anti-black validators that you have tagged in your video, we have watched you three try to convince Black America to divest in Black America over the last year, trying to talk us out of voting in our best interest to save our lives. We are not talking to you, beloved. Beyonce ain't talking to you. We're talking to ourselves, each other, and like the colonizers, that's some shit y'all just cannot stand.
So this is all I got from this video, and I really do have something to ask, and I hope, I get clarification because some people are really being messy this time around. Now, she said something about uh, the flag and patriotism and nationalism, right? So far from what I can see, I can say that seeing how Black people, say that they are very proud of Black Americans is automatically nationalism. How is that? Because people saying that I am proud of where I come from, I am Black American, and that is what I am, and how is that nationalism, right? And also, there is a big gap between patriotism and nationalism. And being patriotism is back, Black American being patriotic to, where they are, or like being patriotic, right? And nationalism is like they really don't like anyone claiming that the performance had a nationalist undertone, has really flushed that out. Man, I really do not understand how these people wake up and try to gaslight themselves, because now they pushed it towards propaganda that she was her having I mean, like in a definition, I don't know for her, maybe by our definition, every piece of art that conveys political message is propaganda. Make this make sense. Make this make sense. Now, I have really watched these people, like some of these people, come out, especially when it is Beyonce, right? See, when it comes to music, I really appreciate Beyonce, right? But there are some people that I am a huge fan of, which everyone does. But when it comes to anything that got to do with Black people and something that belongs to us, whether I like it or not, I'm representing because that is the best way we can represent ourselves, right? I am coming fully all out for it. And this particular one, I am also asking, why is it that you all do not go around criticizing other people? But anytime it is people that look like me trying to soar high, trying to grow, it becomes a problem for you people. It looks like you people are the problem, not even her or Black people. Make it make sense, We all have seen that woman work so hard. When I say work so hard, double time, triple times, like all so hard to meet up with her other counterpart, right? And still, she is still being not like people still do not see her as somebody that should be placed in a high place and all that. I mean, I have watched all these people over time show how anti-Black they are, and that is what they are. There is nothing that I am going to say that will make me, like anybody will say, will make me change my mind about how they feel about Black people. Now, I want you all to know that each time Black people look for a way to unite, probably through a song or something, you all come out from the bushes because that is, you all usually come out from the bushes and then try to read meanings into something that is not even your business, especially when Black people are trying to communicate to themselves. It is always your all's problem. Why? Because you all will have to shake your head anywhere they called Black people. I mean, it's 2025. Can you people rest already? Can you people stop with all these Black people's analysis? The same thing they did to Eniko, right? I hope that I pronounced her name right. Some people came out to even use her song, turn that upside down, and said that her song is demonic. And the same song you say is demonic, you turn the same song from word to word or from any, then to a Christian song. How do you people wake up to do this? There are some people that I do not trust and I will never trust them. Why? Because they have shown me reason not to even trust them. You see all these people of color and some of all these biracial, I don't know where she is from, this woman, but I do not care. But enough of all this analysis. You want to criticize her because you are who? I am not saying Beyonce is beyond criticism, being criticized and all that, but you all should just get away because you all know that you are not coming in peace. You all have something. I mean, it's only some people, especially when it comes to all this. I don't know, but there are some people when, let's say, the Democrats. I'm using Democrats as example that that they represent blue and the other people represent red. It's only when we come to us that we see blue. Some people will see blue and they want to ask you if that blue is deep blue or light blue because they want to find fault. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.